Hello everyone, I'm Masaki Kawanaka from National Institute of Technology, Tokiyama College, Yamaguchi, Japan. Today, I talk about stable training of DNN for speech enhancement based on perceptually motivated black box cost function. In recent years, speech applications have become widespread. For example, automatic speech recognition ASR, and telecommunication. For these applications, speech enhancement SE is essential to extract the target signal from the noisy signal. SE has various objectives. In the case of ASR, the objective of SE is to improve the performance of machine listening. Also, in the case of telecommunication, the objective of SE is to improve the performance of human listening. The goal of this study is to improve the subjective sound quality of DNN-based SE. Since the trained DNN varies according to the cost function, it is necessary to set an appropriate cost function. The widely used cost functions are mathematically defined differentiable functions, such as mean squared error, MSE, and signal-to-distortion ratio, SDR. Unfortunately, it is known that MSE and SDR do not guarantee to improve subjective sound quality. Please look at the table and figure. The table and figure are results of objective evaluation and subjective evaluation. From the table, ML method is higher SDR compared to PPSQ method. However, from the figure, ML method is lower GMOS compared to PPSQ method. Please look at this figure. This figure is an overview of training procedure of typical SE. To improve subjective quality, we consider using subjective evaluation instead of MSE or SDR. This change is expected to improve the subjective sound quality. However, it is not realistic to manually evaluate all enhanced signals. Therefore, we use Objective Sound Quality Assessment, OSQA. Since OSQA is human perception-based measure, it is expected to improve the subjective quality of enhanced speech and significant reduction of human resources. The difficulty of the use of an OSQA-based cost function is that most of OSQAs are black box functions and cannot be calculated gradient analytically. Therefore, we cannot train DNN by simply using the backpropagation algorithm. In the previous studies, two types of strategies have been proposed to circumvent this difficulty. The first strategy is reinforcement learning RL-based approach. The second strategy is metric GAN. Metric GAN is function approximation-based approach. The next slides show the details of these methods. The first method is the RL-based approach. This method statistically calculates the gradient of the OSQA using RL. In particular, it is the adaptation of a policy gradient method based on a sampling algorithm. The problems of this method are required a huge number of samples for stability, and that training is unstable for a practical number of calculated samples. The second method is metric GAN. Metric GAN calculates the gradient by approximating the OSQA function with DNN. The square of OSQA is approximated by using an auxiliary DNN. This method allows to backpropagate the information of OSQA to the primary DNN that enhances signals. The problem of this method is that training is unstable in the early stage of iterations. To solve the problems of conventional methods, we propose using stabilization techniques for the function approximation-based method. In particular, we design a new cost function and adapt training techniques in RL and other machine learning areas. As a result, proposed method can stably train a DNN to increase PESQ, achieved state-of-the-art PESQ score, and obtained better sound quality based on subjective evaluation. Before describing the detail of the proposed method, I'd like to show you a demonstration. Comparison methods are Wiener filter, SE gain, and deep feature loss, DF loss. Then we play the signal in order of noisy, green, Wiener filter, SE gain, DF loss, and proposed.
The price cuts are really exciting. 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 The price cuts are really exciting.
I think you will find that the proposed method has a good subjective sound quality. From the next slides, I explain the detail of the proposed method. This figure is overview of training procedure of proposed method. There are 4 improvements in the proposed method. First, we design a new cost function of auxiliary DNN, D, for approximation of OSQA score. Second, we adapt pre-training of both DNN, M for estimating TF mask, and D. Third, we change the optimizer of both M and D in the training stage. Finally, we select appropriate mini-batch size of both M and D in the training stage. From the next slide, I explain the new cost function. To design a new cost function, we review cost function of metric gain. The cost function for OSQA score approximation is expressed by the following equation. Also, this figure is OSQA approximation using cost function of metric gain. The vertical and horizontal axes are OSQA score and input signal. The solid line is true OSQA function, and the dotted and dashed lines are approximated OSQA function of D. D can know OSQA scores of S and Y only. That is to say, D cannot know the score of X. Therefore, as you can see from the figure, metric gain is difficult to approximate the score for noisy signal. Lack of information of P of Sx should be cause of instability of training. To solve the problem of the previous slide, we design a new cost function. Specifically, we additionally supervise OSQA score of noisy signal. The new cost function for OSQA score approximation is expressed by the following right equation. As shown in the right figure, proposed method approximates OSQA function with high accuracy. Therefore, D can learn better and M can know which is a lower quality signal. From the next slide, I explain the pre-training. We think that pre-training of DNN, M for estimating the TF mask using SDR should be effective. Although SDR does not reflect subjective sound quality, signals with higher SDR tends to result in higher OSQA score. SDR-based cost function is expressed by the following equation. After the pre-training of M, we conduct pre-training of D using previous new cost function and fixed M. From the next slide, I explain the optimizer and mini-batch size. In metric gain, the Adam was used as the optimizer for both M and D. However, it is known that the Adam optimizer may not improve the generalization performance compared to the SGD. Therefore, we use the SGD optimizer instead of the Adam optimizer in the training stage. Mini-batch size has trade-off between training speed and stability. We experimentally found that the mini-batch size M is equal to 10 is the smallest size, which stabilizes the training of D in our experiment. In the literature, it is known that the learning rates of the M and D should be 2 by 1. Also, the learning rate and mini-batch size are related inversely. Therefore, we set the mini-batch sizes to 1 by 2 based on the inverse relation. To evaluate performance of the proposed method, we conducted 3 experiments. First experiment is a verification experiment for investigating the stabilization effect of the proposed method. Second experiment is an objective experiment using a public dataset. Third experiment is a subjective experiment. In all experiments, we utilize the Voice Bank DEMAND dataset. The train and test sets consist of 28 and 2 speakers, respectively. As an example of OSQA to be approximated by the DNN, PESQ was considered in these experiments. First, we conducted an experiment for verifying whether the PESQ score of the test dataset was stably improved by increasing the number of iterations. This figure is relationship between number of iterations of PESQ score on test dataset, where each mini-batch in training stage was randomly chosen by using a seed value. The vertical and horizontal axes are PESQ score and number of iterations. From this figure, the PESQ score was improved stably by increasing the number of iterations for all seed values. Next, we compared the proposed method with the conventional methods on the same dataset. Objective measurements were PESQ, CSIG, CBAQ, and COVL. Comparison methods were SE-GAN, MMSE-GAN, DF-ROS, SER-GAN, and metric GAN. This table is result of objective evaluation. From the table, the proposed method achieved the state-of-the-art score for PESQ compared to the conventional methods, although the proposed method did not outperform conventional methods on the other measurements. It is a straightforward result because the proposed method in this experiment was specialized to PESQ and did not take the other scores into account. To confirm whether the proposed method improved the actual subjective quality, we conducted a subjective experiment. Subjective measurements were SMOS, NMOS, and GMOS. Comparison methods were SE-GAN and DF-ROS. 9 participants evaluated sound quality of enhanced signal. This figure is result of subjective evaluation. The proposed method outperformed SE-GAN in terms of all factors and outperformed DF-ROS except NMOS. In addition, statistically significant differences were observed in SMOS and GMOS between the proposed method and the others according to the paired one-sided t-test. This result suggests that the proposed method improves not only objective measurements but also subjective quality. Conclusion is here. Thank you for your attention.